that just keep showing up in our lives. And I would like to just take a moment here to encourage the listeners to think about what some of those things might be in their life right now. What keeps showing up? And to kind of, right now, breathe it in and think about it, and to maybe open their hearts, open their minds to whatever that thing is in their life, because maybe it's a calling card. Maybe it's preventing that, or it's a tool that will prevent them from hitting rock bottom. So I just kind of want to just pause.
Yeah, throw that out there. Yeah. I have a rule that, well, definitely the old adage, when the student is ready, the master will appear. And I would say the book will appear, the teacher will appear, whoever. But I have this sort of rule that if something pops into my consciousness, more than twice, 2 times I start to pay attention, 3 times I'm really intrigued. And if it's any more than that, I'm like, all right, already, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
So, I love that you dropped that in there, just to pay attention to what's calling at you. And, spirit whispers. Spirit does not force, does not shout at you. Ego shouts at you. Ego, the Course says ego speaks first and speaks loudest.
Yes.
So it really takes a quiet mind to listen to that still small voice. And that's why I'm a big advocate for quiet time, especially in the morning. Mm-hmm. I pray before every client call or every group course I'm going to teach, that spirit works through me and moves through me, that I'm not in charge, that I move out of the way. Just these little intentions. And another thing a course says is that the spirit responds to your slightest invitation, but it needs the invitation. And so pay attention to these little droplets from spirit of saying, hey, read this book, or hey, talk to this teacher, or hey, look this up.
Yeah. I like that. And I also like that you mentioned you went to some study groups and that you sat down and did the workbook. You did the lesson yourself. Because as we had talked about earlier, we need to go at it with somebody else. And I want to clear up the misperception that a coach is the only way to go, or a religious person is the only way to go. There's options for people who want to explore. I'm guessing there's online groups. I'm guessing you can start the workbook on your own and then find some people to talk to.
You totally can. A Circle of Atonement is one of the, I'd say, primary places that I would go to. And a Circle of Atonement, I think it's .org. They have a course calendar. Like if you want to study A Course in Miracles, they literally start from like a January 1st. They start with lesson 1, and they walk you through with like a calendar that you can print out. You can follow it through. You can, if it is a course that you're interested in, there's study groups everywhere. You can, online learning. There's Course Companions is another one. There's so many different ways that you can do it. And people, when it comes to coaching, I tell my clients all the time, even before they sign up, like, you don't need a coach. You don't need a teacher. You don't need a guru. You don't need any of those things. And I would never actually even sign on to work with anyone who thought they needed me.
Right.
You don't need those things. You need yourself and openness and a willingness and a relationship. And it's just your tiny willingness. And if you want the support, people like us are out there, but it's not a need. And actually, I would say, if you feel you need it, you maybe, there might be a therapeutic need, but, the more you need it, the more you need to look within yourself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's perfect that you said that. It's such a beautiful segue, because I feel like the heart of the matter, your heart, my heart, the heart of humanity, is that separation. But within that separation, when we're separate and when we're alone, we look for those external things to fill us up. And we all do, even when we're enlightened, even when we understand it's a success addiction, a work addiction, a having babies addiction, a workout addiction. There's all of these things that we do to fill ourselves up. And I feel like we've talked about everything, and I'd like to return back to that void and talk very candidly in a very vulnerable way about the pain of that void, because I know everybody out there knows what it feels like to not be good enough. And I was curious if you have any tips or tricks or tools that you can share with listeners that might help them fill that void from within.
Yeah, such a good question. So the first thing that, there's so many things I could probably talk about. But the first thing that pops into my mind is something I call find the evidence. And our ego wants to find all the evidence of how we suck.
Yes.
Look at how that person treated me. It must be because I'm worthless. Or I didn't get that promotion. It must mean I'm not good enough. Or that guy dumped me or that woman dumped me. It must mean this, right? So the ego looks for all the evidence to validate the false belief that we are not good enough, that we're unlovable. And so I play the game in reverse. And so when I start to feel awful, right? Or when I start to feel not good enough, I start to look for the evidence. And this is something I walk my clients through as well, of where I am enough and where I'm actually more than enough. And where am I lovable? And where do I make things work? And where am I awesome? And the more you start to look for the evidence of the contrary, the more you'll see it showing up in your life. And it sounds so like, well, duh, that's obvious, Giovanna, but it really is. It's not easy, but it's so simple. You've got to find the evidence to the contrary, because what our brain does, and in fact, biologically, we are programmed to look for the negative first because it's a survival mechanism. So this is way back in the reptilian brain. So we have to that's why we have to watch our mind like a hawk, as my teacher would say, and watch your mind, and your mind will go to the crappy, ugly, negative places. And so you have to catch it and say, oh, wait, I've just gone down that garden path again. You'll know when you have. Initially, you won't realize it because it's hard to watch your mind if you're not used to it. And what you'll feel you'll feel it in your body. You'll start to feel really bad, or you'll start to feel depressed, or you'll start to feel anxious, or you'll start to just feel uncomfortable in your body, and emotionally you won't feel right, and say, oh, I must have been thinking something really off. And you can often backtrack and find out what, pathway that you took to get there. And then look for the evidence. Look for the evidence of where you are amazing, where you are loved, where you are talented, where you are just beautiful. And the more you do that, you will reprogram your thinking.
And I want to just slide this in too for any listeners who might be thinking that it sounds like ego. It's not ego. It's not looking for evidence of I'm so great and other people are so awful.
Exactly.
It's not ego. It's that love. It's that spiritual worthiness. It's the beautiful strength of who you are.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because you're not doing this to compare to other people, and nor to like fluff your feathers, but you are innately worthy. You are a fragment, a filament, a thread of love that created you. And so why wouldn't you be worthy? Why wouldn't you be lovable? Why wouldn't you be absolutely adored? And it's looking for the evidence of that, rather than, like you just said, from an ego place of like, yeah, I'm awesome. And look at, that's a different quality to it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I can be without a relationship. I can be in not my healthy body. I can be in a state of external depletion, but I can still affirm and find the evidence of my worth inside.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your emotions about something, and even your thoughts about something, do not equal who you are at your core. So, if I'm having an emotion right now of I had every year around the anniversary of my mom's death, and it's been 9 years now, I'll have, and Mother's Day too, it's hard. I'll have these moments of where grief will come up, and I let grief come up.
Yes.
I let it move through me. I just let myself feel it. But if I, in that moment, identified with that feeling, if I created an identity in that feeling and said, I must be depressed, I must be, and started labeling myself and identifying with my emotion, or even the thoughts that go through my head, this is where we go wrong, is we start to identify with those thoughts and feelings, as opposed to just have the thoughts go by just like clouds, have the feelings flow through you like a river. if I started to identify with those things, then I would go down a really ugly path of like, look how depressed I am, and oh my God, and that's why I can't get my life together, and oh, it must be because of that, and then you're just way, way, way down the garden path. So paying close attention.
I like how you phrase that, identifying with that. I've mentioned a couple times on the show, I just got back from India, and one of the things we did was kind of the slums tour. And it sounds funny to say, but you drive through the slums. Those are the happiest people. Those are the most God-filled, joyous people. And that level of poverty is so below poverty that we see in the U.S. But I think a lot of that is because they're not attaching an identity to their situation. Their situation is worse than any listener here probably will ever experience or even comprehend in their lifetime, but they're not attached to it. They know they're beautiful children of God and they're joyous.
Yeah. Wow, what a great example.
Mm-hmm. I really like how you made that distinction. That's powerful. So you have been through a lot. You have challenged yourself to grow. You have continuously moved up that spiral, and now you work with people and you also have a podcast. I'd like for you to share a little bit about your mission in doing all of this.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it goes back to what I said very, very top of the hour, which is my mission is to really, to heal every little girl that lives inside a woman who feels she's unlovable. And, that extends out to everyone, men included, but we have an epidemic of unlovability, and my mission is to help heal that in any way that I can.
I love that. And where can listeners learn more about you? Where can they find your podcast? Where can they get more?
Thank you. Well, SheRisesPodcast.com is the website, and you could definitely, I'd love for you to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play Music, and definitely have a listen to the show. We always love new listeners, especially when you can give us a star rating and a review. That's awesome. And my website, you'll find me through SheRisesPodcast.com, but it's GiovannaCapozza.com, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all the twits and tweets and all the places. So yeah, you can find me anywhere online. I'm in the process of rebranding my website, and I'll be launching that in the next few months. And like I said, hopefully the book soon. So that's where they can find me.
Oh, that's wonderful. And any last words of wisdom that you would like to share with listeners, just for that little golden nugget that they can take into the rest of their day?
I would say remember. Do your hardest to remember who you really are. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been such a joy.
Oh, absolutely. Listeners, I will go ahead and put up all of this information on my show page as well. I hope you have a fantastic week remembering who you are, finding that love, feeling that love, parenting that little girl inside of you, connecting with spirit in that deep way, thinking about those 3 pillars that we learned about today, and being brave and strong enough to take them into your heart and into your life so you can find that joy and that peace. And so you can really, really change yourself, change your life, and then change the happiness level of those around you, because you're encouraging that self-love within everyone. So have a fantastic week. I can't wait to be with you again next week. And as usual, don't forget to flaunt.
Tune in next time to Flaunt. Build your dreams, live your sparkle with radio host Laura Cheadle every Wednesday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dreamvision 7 radio network. Come release self-judgment, reveal your naked self-worth, and re-choreograph a life filled with joy. Flaunt. Find your fetish, laugh out loud, accept unconditionally, navigate the negative, and trust in your truth. Find out more at lauracheadle.com. That's LoraCheadle.com.